Okay, so today we're talking about IMO1, indigenous microorganisms. And, the question might be, why go out and harvest from the forest something that's really diverse, you really don't know 100% what's in it, and then apply that to crops? We use it on commercial crops. And for me, it's pretty simple. One of the things that we have to look at is by the scientific documents themselves, it's admitted that only about 2% of the biological life is able to be cultured in the lab. And then, for example, endophytic fungi, 1.3 million varieties at least are unable to be cultured in a lab medium and are typically unknown. And so if you're not willing to settle for the minor percentages of life, of biology, of biodiversity that exists in bottles that have been isolated strains, then one of the best things to do is to collect indigenous microorganisms. They are fit to the climate you've taken them from. So if you're doing them in your own environment, you're getting things that are made to survive in your climate. They naturally thrive instead of something maybe from around the world that may or may not do well or may imbalance the natural biodiversity. And so IMO is a great way to do that and to go out and capture that. So we're going to look at that today. But I think it's just super important. I compare it a little bit to playing Monopoly. I like to play Monopoly. And when you're playing Monopoly, usually there's two groups that aren't behaving very well in the game. It's the people who are dominating the game and the people who are being dominated. The guys in the middle really don't cause much of a problem. It's quite that way with crops. There's oftentimes not really anything bad or anything good. It's imbalance. And so when you take indigenous microorganisms, you're able to put that into compost teas and into different applications. You're able to then basically reset the monopoly board and re-equalize the population to natural indigenous balances in a much more effective way. And so I think it's a great way to go. So let's take a look and see how to make IMO1. So I'm going to go ahead and weigh out just about 500 grams of rice and get ready to wash it. So here I am about to do the final rinse. You can see how white that water is. Picked up a ton of starch. Okay, here's the tools for doing IMO1. So I like to use a local basket. You don't have to use that. You can use something else to cover it, but I like to get the local basket. So we've got two of those, a couple different size sieves that they use for grain sieving or for nut sieving. I just get them because they're super affordable and they're easy to use. You can make the same thing with screen and wire, or you can just use screen and some timber. The other thing we've got is the toothy rice. So it's just rice that's undercooked. So it's a little bit, it's still grains are individual, and inside it's a little bit crunchy. So this is 500 grams approximately of rice dry. I used the wash to make LAB, lactobacillus, and we'll show that in another video. And so you just go ahead and get it ready and get it into the box, and we'll go ahead and do that. And then we want to let it cool down before we go out and put it out. Okay, so this is how it looks when it's in the box. You can see here. And you just want to make sure you've got good contact that will be close to where we put it out. Same thing on this one. You want to see some good contact on the bottom. So this is what we like to do. We go ahead and put it out. You'll get to see that. Once we've put it out in a good location, we go ahead and put the basket over top. You could use a cloth or something else. And then we'll go ahead and camouflage it so that it doesn't get picked up by someone, and it also keeps animals and things from being able to easily get into it. Okay, we're back after about an hour, and rice is nice and cool. So we're gonna go ahead and go out and find a trapping location for the IMO, or the indigenous microorganisms. Okay, so we're about to trap here. So what I've picked this spot, I've got some wood that's decaying here. And it's a little bit in the mixed shade area. So I'm going to go ahead and put the first box out. And we just want to make sure that we get the base nice and smooth against the ground. And if we were to see, you know, some good fungus or any kind of local thing that's growing here, we can also put a little bit on the top. Wouldn't put too much. And what I like to do is go ahead and put the basket in. And then I'm going to go ahead and camouflage this with grass and leaves and stuff to make it less attractive for someone who doesn't know what's going on to come and pick up. So there we are. First one down. We're going to go look for a really rotten fungal area to do that. And I'll be honest, you typically don't want a very wet area. Fungal activity does very well in areas that are shaded, but they don't need to be really wet. Higher areas are better. Okay, you can see this tree had a big branch come off of it. It fell here, and it's down here. And so I'm gonna go ahead and tuck this thing in right in this area next to this log that's been decaying and see what we can trap. So here we are. We're gonna go ahead and make sure that it's got a good contact to the screen. It's not held up by any stones or anything to the ground. I'm gonna go ahead and throw a little bit of this fungal active stick that was right there. Go ahead and cover this and camouflage away. So you can see here, got that pretty well hidden in here next to this log. So this should be good hunting ground with all that active fungal material that's been around there. And we'll see what all we catch. We'll check back in about 5 days and take a look. You can see here, it's been uncovered a little bit. Let's see what we find. Check that out. All kinds of colors in there. Okay, so we're gonna head down to the next spot where we've got one hidden beside a decomposing log here. So you can see right down here is where we've got it hidden. Get everything pulled back. Pull that cover off and look at that. Completely different collection of colors and types of fungi and biology from this location versus the other. Take a look. Here's the one, and here's the other. This one's got a lot darker colors, more greens and deep oranges. This one has more yellows and whites and some grays. Take a look at the spot under this last trap. How much of that soil biology comes up to get into that starch and that rice. Okay, here we go. We're all set from collection. Now we're gonna go ahead and get these made into what we call IMO2.